All right, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome again to another session where we are going to be looking into one of the 365 workbook lessons that are found in the spiritual book, A Course in Miracles. My name is Oliver Blue, and I am your temporary guide on this journey, providing commentary to the lessons as a way to assist and help bring more understanding and more clarity um, to all of us as we journey on this upward spiral, upward ladder, take another step um, to help us to complete the mission and the goal of renewing our minds, being transformed by the renewing of our minds, completing this part of the course called the Workbook Lesson for Students is a way for us to apply the truth that we have opened ourselves up to. It's a way for us to become the substance and the evidence that what is true and what is real. And so today we're going to actually finish workbook lesson 153, in which we started on yesterday. And as a reminder, the idea that is set forth in workbook lesson 153 has to do with defenselessness. And it states that in our defenselessness, or in my defenselessness and your defenselessness, my safety lies. And so the whole idea of defenselessness has to do with the reality that that which is real cannot be threatened. And so it's so if that which is real cannot be threatened, and we are part, if we embrace in the truth as it has been shared with us here, we are a part of that which is real, a part of that which is God. And the reality is that that which is real cannot be threatened. Truth cannot be threatened. God cannot be threatened. Reality cannot be threatened. And so if truth and reality and God and that which God created, which is us, cannot be threatened, then there's never a need for us to go on the defense. There's never a need for us to defend anything. Because we are a part of the changeless. We are a part of the unaltered. We are a part of that which is eternal. We are a part of that which is the truth, and the truth always. We are a part of that which is birthless and deathless. We are a part of that which which is knowledge. We are part of that which is of the one law, the law of God, or the law of love. We are love. Love and God are synonymous, and love and God is what created us. And only God or love creates reality. And the reality that God and love has created is the reality that that which is real cannot be threatened. And so if we cannot be threatened, there's never a need for defense. So we are a part of that which creates reality. What we are as a result of God's creation is beyond learning. It is beyond time and space. It has no opposites, no beginning, no end. What God has created in us and as us merely is one with God itself, the Creator itself. That's our true identity. And it is upon accepting that true identity that we realize that we cannot be threatened. We cannot be changed, altered. We are forever. We are forever one with the Creator Himself. We are forever in the very center, the very heart of that, what we call God. We are a part. We are a part of that one being that we share with God. We are a part of that one life, the one love that we share. And so it is in that reality, it is in that truth that there is never a need for defense. And so what we learned yesterday is that the need for defense comes from the illusion of being threatened. The illusion of that a threat is real comes from a fake or false or egoic belief that separation occurred somewhere in eternity past. But we have learned here from the Course that nothing happened. And so what we experience that seems to be separation, that seems to be a threat, what we're experiencing is a dream of separation or an illusion of separation or a fantasy of separation or a hallucination of separation, of vain imaginings of separation. And it's in that dreamlike state where there appears to be a serious threat. Thus, we need to be defended. Thus, we need to be protected. Thus, there's our only way to be in safety. And that's what we have. That's the illusion that we have swimmed in. That's the illusion of water that we've swimmed in, all humanity. Until each one, at some point in their journey, wakes up from the dream of being separate, of being under a threat, to realize that it was only an illusion and only a dream. And once that happens, we lay that aside. We walk away from it. We give it no credence. We begin now to experience and to know and to experience and to express and to become a light and a testament to that, to our now recognized, when we recognize our true reality as one with God, with no with no need for any type of defense. I always like to refer back to the creation story in Genesis, which is called the Garden of Eden, or I like to refer to the story of the prodigal son. Those are great metaphors. Those are great symbols to represent our original state. Our original state of oneness, our original state of of abundance, our original state of harmony and peace, our original state of having no threat, no attack. Our original, it represents our original state of bliss and wholeness and completeness and innocence. And so as you see in those two metaphors, or those two stories, or those two examples, that initially all was well, and then something happened. And what happened didn't really happen. It only happened in the mind of a mind that seemed to be independent of the one mind of God. That separation happened. But now we understand, after being in this for 153 days, that nothing happened. And so we accept that as our reality. And once we accept that, immediately there's this sense of what? This sense of our what? Oneness. It's a sense of our what? Joy and peace and happiness. This sense of our completeness and wholeness, our innocence. Yes, but there's more work to be done. Why? Because the mind that thought itself split off from reality, it still has the residual effects of the belief in separation. And we have given too much attention to that. We have given too much credence to that. And so we go through this process of renewing the mind for the whole sole purpose to finally, once and for all, to put the illusion to rest. And so here we are today on day 153, part 2. And so we said, so that need for defense comes from an illusion of threat. And out of that, in a result of the illusion of threat, we learned that attack is the response to that, and it makes attack justified. And so that attack is what we see in the world as what we call self-defense. And in reality, what it says is defense is very weak, or it is weakness. To defend oneself or to defend an illusion is weakness. And then we learn that it creates confusion in our minds. Why? It creates confusions when we believe that there's a threat and that we're under attack, or there's a need to attack, or the need to defend. So it creates like a double threat. And all the time, all this is being perpetrated by an illusion. It's not even real. And so the mind become imprisoned by this illusion. And we don't realize how much devastation that it brings about, how much suffering and pain it brings about. If we look over the history of our life, we can now see where our own belief in needing to defend ourselves to maintain a level of peace or a level of safety has never worked. It's only sent out more, it's only allowed the world to send us more messages of attack and fear and threats. And if you look at the world as a whole, that's what you have seen over the thousands and thousands of years of history. Such you have the wars and the fighting. Such you have the division and the strife and the separation. Thus you have the anger, and thus you have the inequality, and thus you have the formation of so many different ideas that come out of that, to where it does create confusion, to where we look at the world and say the world's insane. And how much devastation have this false belief have wrought in history. And so we become slaves to a threat. And when you become a slave to a threat, the one response is what? To arm yourself individually, to arm yourself as a nation, to arm yourself as a special group, a race or a gender or a religion or a party, political party, or so we arm ourselves and separate ourselves. We all go to our own corner because there's a threat, and we attack one another. And we see the results of that. It's the same old cycle over and over again. And the only way out of this cycle is through the truth. And so that's what we're sharing here. That one critical piece of that is we need to know that in our defenselessness is our safety. Because in truth, there's no threat. There's no attack, and there's no need to attack. And so we see, why personal relationships become so strained. We see why the world is built on this idea of competition. Somebody's got to what? Win. Somebody's got to lose. That's part of the threat. That's part of the attack. Response to the belief and the illusion. And we don't, and it gets so, we've gotten so enamored and so blinded by this that we don't realize how we have just sabotaged our own peace, which is the peace of God. That we've sabotaged the peace that we so desire. And so we see ourselves as victims. And we see the world as ourselves as victim to the world that is attacking us. And all this is happening within fantasies, dreams, and illusions. So we started this workbook lesson by laying that groundwork for getting to the solution to all of this. And today we're going to get to this, to the reality here. We just set the stage of what we've all participated in. But there is a way out. It's always the truth that is true always. And so we're going to start here in verse 6 of workbook lesson 153. We'll see what it says. It says defenselessness. It says defenselessness. The word defenselessness means no defense. It says defenselessness is strength. On the other hand, remember it said that in our defenseness, it is weakness. In other words, to go on the defense, to go on the attack, that's weakness. It's coming out of that's a response to fear and guilt and a consciousness and an awareness that there is a separation between you and your creator, or you and your brother. He said, but defenselessness, which means no defense, is strength. Defense is weakness. No defense is strength. But what the world would teach us is that defense is strength, and no defense is weakness. See, that's the way the ego's thought system is set up. That's the way the world system is set up, to teach us the exact opposite of the truth and blind our minds to the truth, to get us to participate in keeping the lie going. And so it says, no defense is strength. It testifies to recognition of Christ in you. It's a testimony of the Christ that you are, of the oneness that you are. Christ just represents God's creation. That is not something separate, but something that is joined, something that is the same as God is. That word Christ, that's what it represents. So it's it testifies to the recognition of the Christ in you when we don't defend, when we don't respond with attack, when we don't attack ourselves, when we don't attack others, when we don't attack the truth. Perhaps you will recall the text, talking about the text portion of the Course in Miracles, maintains that choice is always made between Christ's strength and your own weakness, seen apart from him. He says, so Christ's strength is no defense. Our own weakness is defense. And that's the choice to be made in every moment. Regardless of what arises in our life, we're always making that choice. We're choosing either the strength of Christ or our own weakness. And our own weakness is based on an illusion, a fantasy, on a dream of separation. It says, defenselessness can never be attacked. So when we stand in a place of no defense, that place we stand in can never be attacked because it recognizes strength so great, attack is folly or a silly game a tired child might play when he becomes too sleepy to remember what he wants. You ever notice a child when they get so sleepy and they just don't even know what they want? Child's play. Folly is what they call. When we stand in a place of defenselessness because we know who we are, here it says that we can never be attacked because it recognized strength so great that attack is folly. It's foolishness. Won't even get involved with it. You know how sometimes we get drawn into arguments, we get drawn into strifes, we get drawn into debate, we get drawn into low vibrational conversations to talk about, what's happening in the world and how, we need to take sides and we need to, really just get so caught up in what's happening in the illusionary activities of the world. Easy to do. But here we're learning that it is in our defenselessness that there is strength. It says defenselessness. It says, so here the statement is defenselessness is strength, meaning no defense. And defensiveness, meaning what? Defending ourselves, is weakness. Defenselessness is weakness. It proclaims that you have denied the Christ and come to fear his Father's anger. So there's still a sense that there's a separation between us and God. And there's this sense of guilt. And there's this sense that we are deserving of punishment. All those thoughts come along with separation. That we've done something wrong. We become guilty over what we've done wrong. And then we fear the punishment. And so when we go in a defensive mode, feeling like there's a need to defend, that's a witness and a test. That's a witness that we are still beholden to the belief in separation. And so out of that need of defending, we attack ourselves or we attack others. That's where the fights come from. That's where the warring and fighting comes from. So at the root of it is we don't know who we are, or we have not embraced our reality. We're still choosing for our weakness over the strength of Christ. And so, what can save you now from your delusion of an angry God? So see, in this, we have made of God what? An unloving Father, whose fearful image you believe you see at work in all the evils of the world. To whereas we look at all the evils of the world and we begin to think, how could God do this? How could he make such a world? How could he be so angry? And then it says, what but illusions could defend you now? So in this, the illusion and delusional idea that God created a world as what we see and all the evil in the world. What but another illusion could we cling to try to to try to bring about what? A defense, to try to bring about safety, but to double down with another illusion. And that's what we see happening in the world. He says, what but illusion could defend you now, when it is but illusions that you fight? So we're fighting against the air. We're fighting against a dream. We're fighting against an hallucination. It's like one that's intoxicated. It's like one that is inebriated. It's like one that is so high, you begin to see things and hear things and feel things that are not there. It's called insanity. So to not embrace the truth will eventually drive you towards what? Insanity. To where we begin to fight against the wind. Paragraph 8 says, we will not play such childish games today. So the Course called this what? Children's play. When we're walking in sleep, when we're not awakened to the reality of the truth, when we are so caught up in this world and body identification, when we're so caught up in the illusions of separation, when we get so caught up in the laws of this world, the fashion of this world, when we get so caught up with making the body the central theme of our life and allowing the mind just to go everywhere. The Course here says what? This is childish games. I love Jesus. He's got a sense of humor about all of this. He said, such is childish games today, for our true purpose is to save the world. And we would not exchange for foolishness the endless joy our function offers us. We would not let our happiness slip by because a fragment of a senseless dream happened to cross our minds. And we mistook the figures in the dream. What are the figures in the dream? These bodies that we so call ourself. And not just the bodies, but the mind that are dreaming up the bodies, the minds that feel that they are one with the body. That are separate entities into themselves. Those are the figures of the dream. Body identification. Form and time identification. To where we get buried with this idea of separation that we have lost complete remembrance of our true creation. And so it says, and we mistook the figures in the dream for the sons of God, or for God's creation, or for the Christ. We mistake our born self for our reality. And we mistake ourselves in complete denial of the Christ that we are. And we justify it by saying there's only one Christ. That's one way we get it. We think we get away from coming to the knowledge of the truth for ourselves. And say, well, that was the Christ. He did it. We worship him. We adore him. We set him up on a pedestal. Well, he was just showing us the way. Now it's our turn. Now you are here in time and space. What is your point of view? What is your perception? What is your reality? Have you seen and recognized the need to wake up to the truth of who you are? So we can't, we can put it all on Jesus, but he can't take our fears away. He can't take our illusions away. He can't take our decision to choose for weakness over his strength. We have to do it for ourselves. We have to accept the atonement for ourselves. And what the good news is God guarantees that you will, that I will, that all humanity will at some point. You can decide when that point is. You can decide that you might not want to do it in this lifetime. Well, how many lifetimes do you need to do it? How many other lifetimes? Remember, all this is a dream anyway. It's all a dream anyway. So it's only one big dream of either being asleep or making a decision to wake up. It's just that simple. Just like we wake up naturally. And it is in our defenselessness that is a testimony and a witness that we have chosen the strength of God, that we have embraced our true reality as one with God, that we have embraced and accepted our holiness, our innocence, our eternal nature. We have embraced the fact that we are the unalterable, the unchanging creations of God. That's what will bear witness. And so it says that we have mistook the figures in the dream for the Son of God. Its tiny instant for eternity. And so we all find ourselves coming to a point in our lives where we say, what? There's something wrong here. There must be a better way. There must be something that I do not know, that I have not accepted, that I have not embraced, that's something I haven't recognized. Because this life in this world is a place of suffering. It is not nice. The world is not nice. And when we say the world is merely a false belief that the Son of God, that what God created is something else. That's all the world is. When we believe that we're something else other than what God created. And so we look past dreams today. So here's our solution. We look past dreams today and recognize that we need no defense because we are created unassailable. And let me break that word down for you. It's not a big word. Unassailable merely means that we are unable to be attacked. We are unable to be questioned. And we are unable to be defeated. That's what unassailable means. God created us unable to be attacked, questioned, or defeated. Why? Because God created us likened to himself. And we remain in that place. We remain in that created state which God created us. There is no opposites to that. There is no ability to alter that. There's no ability to change that. So what we experience in a mind that believes that it's separate, we're experiencing a dream of separation. That's it. So when we wake up from that, we realize that we are unassailable creations of God. Not to be what? Attacked. Not to be what? Questioned or what? Defeated. So there's no threat. That's why the Course says at its foundation, that which is real, which is us, cannot be threatened. You cannot be threatened. So it would be folly, it would be foolishness to think that we have to defend ourselves. See where it's going? See the importance of this? And to defend ourselves, what the Course is saying is that's child play. That's folly. That's like a sleepy child that can't figure out what it wants. And that's where the ego would have you, in a state of confusion, in a state of doubt and fear. It's like a magician. Would make you think that you're something that you're not. It would make you think that God isn't a loving father. Would make you think that your brother is your enemy. And would make you think that you have to create a world to go hide out in, where God can't get to us. That's the dream. So, we are created unassailable. That's why we look past the dream of separation. We look past it. We don't give any value to it anymore. We don't give a value to the lie anymore. We don't give any credence to the lie anymore. We don't give anything to an illusion. And so he says, we recognize that we need no defense because we are created unassailable. Can't be attacked, can't be questioned, can't be defended. But the ego would what? Make you seem like you're under attack. The ego would make you think that what? That you have to answer to its what? Its false ideas. The ego would make you think that what? That you are defeated. And that God is the one that's defeating you because God is angry at you. That's what the ego will have you to think. But we are unassailable. Without all thought or wish or dream in which attack has any meaning. In our unassailable reality, the thought, it says the thought. Let me find my place here. It says, there's no thought, no wish, or no dream in which attack has any meaning. See, they've only had meaning. Our thoughts have had meaning. Our dreams have had meaning. Our wishes have had meaning because we've given meaning to them, contrary to our reality. We have decided on everything. That's why we said in the previous chapter. That's why we said in the previous lesson that no one can suffer loss unless it has been his own decision. We have decided on everything. Everything that you have experienced is a result of your decisions. Once you look at it from God's point of view, and it's true. Everything that I have experienced in this lifetime is results of my decisions, based on my choice of weakness or strength. Weakness, if I feel like I have to defend myself. Strength, if I come to the recognition that there's nothing to defend, there is no threat. I am safe in the heart of my Father, where he would have me be, and all of us are there. We just have to wake up to reality of the position that we're in. And so he says, oh, I'm loving this. This is blessing me. This is helping me. This is expanding my consciousness, and I hope it's expanding yours. He say, now we cannot fear, for we have left all fearful thoughts behind. And in defenselessness, we stand secure, serenely certain of our safety now. We stand in certainty, sure of our salvation. We know of who we are. Sure, we will fulfill our chosen purpose as saviors of the world, as the light of the world. As our ministry extends, so we now what? Our response to the truth of who we are is that what we extend, we know and realize that we are ministers, or we are servants, or we come to serve humanity now. It says that our ministry extends its holy blessings through the entire world. So once we wake up to our true reality and realize our purpose, we have just entered into our greatest moment. When we realize that our life is here to be a light, our life is here to be the substance and the evidence of reality, that we are here to aid in the awakening of all humanity. When we wake up to that realization, oh my God, everything changes. Everything changes. Paragraph 10 said, but still a moment. No, it says, be still for a moment. Yeah, this knocks your socks off. So you need to, sometimes I just have to go and sit with all the revelations that continue to come through this journey that we're on. Sometimes this truth, as it is pervading my mind, I can only respond by just sitting quietly, sitting still. Because as the truth enters into the gates with thanksgiving, what exits out the gates of our mind is all the illusions, all the fears, all the doubts, all the suffering, all the pain, all the anxiety. It exits. And sometimes I just sit still and see the, almost like the Jacob's ladder. I see the ascending and the descending. And what is ascending is the truth. And what is descending or disappearing is the fake and the false and the illusion and the dream and the imaginings. The beliefs that I held that had me imprisoned in my mind, thinking I was really what I was not. Sin and guilt and fear had me completely imprisoned. But not anymore. And not for you anymore, as you embrace the truth. The mind is healed. The mind is being transformed. So be still a moment, and in silence, notice now, and in silence, think how holy is your purpose. How holy is your purpose? How whole and complete is your purpose? How top level, how extreme top level is your purpose? How that there is no grander purpose than what God has purposed in us. Now are we, as we've always been, the very ambassadors for God, the very ambassadors as Christ. How holy is our purpose? How secure is our rest? This is the rest that God spoke about in Hebrews when he said there is a rest for the people of God and that we should labor to enter in. So we enter into the rest of God through the knowing. Grace and peace is multiplied through the knowledge, through the knowing of the truth, knowing of who you are, understanding your purpose, understanding this grand awakening that we're a part of, understanding the responsibility that we have to our brothers and sisters and to all creation. It doesn't get any grander than that. It doesn't get any more high level than that. This is what we call kingdom awareness or kingdom business. Jesus said it this way: I must be about my Father's business. See, he understood his purpose. When you understand your purpose, you understand your life is about the purposes of God. You become vigilant for God and his kingdom. You become vigilant for the family. You become vigilant for that one purpose. You become vigilant for the truth that is true always. And so our rest is secured. Our mind begins to be at peace. Our heart begins to be at rest. The anxiety seems to subside. Things begin to disappear. You begin to experience your holy joyousness. You begin to experience your radiant beauty. You begin to see a new world arise now. You begin to see the salvation of the world. You begin to see the face of Christ in all your brothers because you have remembered God. You have remembered yourself. So how holy is our purpose? How secure is our rest? And how untouchable within this light? We become the untouchable. You are the untouchable. You've always been that. But when we fall over into sleep, we become touchable in the dream. But out of the dream, you're untouchable. You're at rest. Your purpose is holy. God's ministers. You realize you're you realize you're a minister of God. Minister basically means you now understand that your life is here to administer life to all humanity. You realize that you are here to administer light and to bring light and immortality to life, to all humanity. So it says God's ministers have chosen, notice now, they have made a decision. To wake up is to choose. Like it said, who is a teacher of God? It's one that sees that his interest is not what is shared with all humanity. That's the only qualification needed. When you wake up, you realize you have a shared interest with the grand awakening. You have a shared interest with all of humanity coming to a place of awakening, a place of enlightenment, a place of being born again. to the original that has never changed. God's ministers have chosen that the truth be with them. So to choose your reality is to choose for the truth. That the truth is with you always. And it says, who is holier than the minister of God? I'm not talking about. Don't let me go there. I'm talking about God's plan for salvation. I'm talking about God's criteria for teachers of God. He says, who could be sure, more sure, that his happiness is fully guaranteed? The happiness that you've been looking for? The peace that you've been looking for? The joy that you've been searching so hard to find? It's all in you coming to know your true self. It's all within you. The real you. That is love. It's all there. And so he says, who could be sure that his happiness is fully guaranteed? God, here's go God with another guarantee. He guarantees. You remember we say the definition of salvation from God's perspective is that God guarantees that all humanity will wake up. It's a promise. And now he's showing us another guarantee. He said, your happiness is guaranteed in your awakening. Fully guaranteed. He said, you are untouchable. Your rest is secure. That your purpose will be surely fulfilled. That your ministry extend, your service, your light extend to all the world. That the truth is with you always. You remember Jesus told him, he said, go and I'll be with you, but always. That's what he's talking about. He said, you are holier. He said, you become the holiest place on earth. For there was once an ancient hatred has become the holiest place on earth. That's where you are. He said, and who could be more mightily protected? Without defense. Your protection comes without defense. He said, what defense can possibly be needed by the ones who are among the chosen ones of God, by his election and their own as well? So here he's talking about this mutual acceptance of the truth between you and God. And he said, so what defense could one need? Who has chosen and who has been elected? And he's not talking about some special group or special people. No, he's talking about all humanity, because what? God has chosen all of us. God has elected all of us. Many are called. All have been called, but few have chosen up until now. But according to God's guarantee, that eventually all will what? All will choose. Because what he really comes down to is there is really no choice. There is no choice between what? Illusions and reality. There's only reality. So really there's not a choice. So this thing is fixed. And we can't get outside of the fixation. We can only dream of being outside, but we really can't get outside. And you don't want to get outside. You don't want to suffer anymore. You don't want to have the cycle of birth and death anymore. He said in verse 11, it is the function of God's ministers to help their brothers, see, choose as they have done. So once you have chosen the election that was predestined to you, he said it is your function as the minister to help your brother to choose as you have chosen. Because what you would have for yourself, you would have for your brother, because you and your brother are one. You can't have it for yourself and not want it for your brother. That means you don't have it. There is no specialness in God. Specialness is an ego idea. It's not just for a few, a proud. The few, the proud. It's not for that. What God has created, he created all encompassing with no exceptions. If there's one exception, if love has forgotten one, then it's not the truth and it's not God. This is the absoluteness of what we are. This is the absoluteness of who we are. We are the absoluteness of creation. God has elected all. Here it is. God has elected all. But few have come to realize his will is but their own. That there's only the will of God. That's why Jesus said, I come to do the will of God. Once you wake up, you realize that your whole being is about the will of the Father. Your whole being is about the helping of our brothers, bringing light, shining light, bringing love, being love to our brothers that are still asleep, our sisters that are still asleep. Your whole life becomes consumed by that. And so you realize that within the dream that you have awakened from, you become the portal by which others wake up from the sleep of separation, wake up from sin consciousness, guilt, and fear. You become the savior of the world. Yes, you and me and everyone. There's no exception. He says, God has elected all, but few have come to realize that God's will is but their own. And while we fail to teach what we have learned, salvation waits and darkness hold the world in grim imprisonment. So it's vital that when we awake to this reality, that which we have become aware of, that we represent that we no longer are beholden to any level of inequality, to any level of judgment, to any level of seeing our brothers different than we see ourselves, different than we see God. We can no longer give any credence to that. Our allegiance is first to the will of God, not the will of man. That's why Jesus spoke on the manner in which he spoke. He said, render to Caesar. What is Caesar? Talking about the world. He said, but render unto God. What is God's? What is God? God is everything. So our first allegiance and our only allegiance is to our reality. And God is our only reality, which needs no defense, which needs no what? Which needs no explaining, which needs no questioning, which needs no thoughts of being defeated or thoughts of being under attack. When you know who you are, you don't become concerned about attacks or threats or being defeated. It's impossible. You become the untouchable. This is your true reality. We provide these teachings here at Truly Foundation. Why? Because we need to move from the elementary. We need to move from our religious mindsets, our man-made methods and systems of salvation, and embrace God's only plan for salvation. And when we do that, oh, the beauty, oh, the excellence of the knowledge of Christ, of the knowing of yourself. You understand your equality with God. You understand that Jesus was a man having a man in a dream experience just like you was, but he woke up in a dream and was able to accomplish what he did. He turned the known world upside down. So creating this platform by which we teach these advanced teachings, now you understand why we do it, for no other reason. This is my purpose. This is your purpose. No other reason. Don't want anything. Why? I have everything. All the protection, all of the resources, all of the joy and the happiness, all of the insight, all of the infinite intelligence is available to all of us when we step into our place, when we recognize and remember but who we are. And so while we fail to teach what we have learned, that's why I have to teach what I've learned. I have to. I have no choice. I don't want to teach anything else. Salvation waits in darkness. And hold the world in grim imprisonment. Nor will you learn that light has come to you and your escape has been accomplished if we don't what? Become the light of the world that we are. For you will not see the light until you offer it to all. Notice now, until you offer it to all your brothers. How do you offer the light to all your brothers? How do you offer the light? You say, well, how is that possible? Absolutely. When you realize that you are joined with everyone and everything, not bodily, but we all share the one mind. We all share the one being. And so, right from the place that you sit, you can offer light. You can offer to all of the sons of God, to all that are asleep. You can offer them light and immortality right where you sit. Why? Because we embrace and we hold only the thoughts that we think with God. When we hold these thoughts, when we hold these truths as being self-evident, we open up portals, we open up space, we open up a clearing for others to embrace the truth that is already within their own mind. So he's not talking about, how I'm going to get to 7.8 billion people. It's impossible. Yes, that's why Jesus said what? The works that we do would be a much greater work. Why? Because we now have the capacity. We now have the capacity. We now have the freedom. We now have the complete, unabated, undefended awareness and consciousness of our oneness through the knowledge, through the grace and peace that have been multiplied to us through the knowledge of the truth. So when we bring our minds into alignment of the oneness of all the world, when we let all the world go free, when we hold the world, not in a place of judgment, but in a place of freedom, we are sharing the light. We are not withholding, but we are extending the light to all the world. Yes, we are. Even more so than what can happen here through these broadcasts, through these sessions. This is only for those that resonate with, for whatever reason. You're here listening to me. I'm not the only one. There's thousands and millions of others that are waking up to the truth that is true always. So I'm happy you're here. When I say I'm happy you're here, I really mean that when I say that, because I understand that God is orchestrating his purpose. God is orchestrating his plan, and only the purposes of God will prevail. Only the purposes of God. Many other plans that are in mankind's heart, but only what's in man's heart is destruction and devastation. But the plans of God, the heart of God, is about total redemption, total reconciliation, total salvation, total awakening to the truth that is true always. And God cannot fail. You cannot fail. You cannot. You're untouchable. You're unstoppable. When you have stepped into your Christ consciousness, your Christ awareness. For you will not see the light until you offer it to all your brothers. So fear not. It's easily done. As they take it from your hands, so will you recognize the light as your own. You cannot recognize it as your own until you offer it unto everyone. That you see that there's no exceptions. So these fear-based theologies that are predicated in specialness, they have to wake up even further from that. That there is no specialness. That is for all. It's for all. Remember what we said in the last lesson. It's for all. I can't find it. Not going to look for it. I wanted to finish this. Boy, I got to finish it. So salvation can be thought of as a game that happy children play. It was designed by one who loves his children and who would replace their fearful toys with joyous games, which teach them that the game of fear is gone. His game instructs in happiness because there is no loser. Everyone who plays must win, and in his winning is the gain to everyone insured. The game of fear is gladly laid aside. This is what we do. We lay it aside. When children come to see the benefits salvation brings. There's a scripture over in Hebrews 12, chapter 1. I love it. It says, wherefore, seeing, notice now, when you wake up, you can see. You have vision, Christ's vision. He said, wherefore, seeing, we also are compassed or surrounded about with so great a cloud of witnesses. We're surrounded by a great cloud of what? Witnesses. What's the great cloud of witnesses? All that have awakened to the reality of the truth. He says, let us lay aside. See, laying aside. He said, let us lay aside every weight. Every weight represents what? Every illusion, every dream, every what? Every vain imagining. Let us lay aside every hallucination. Let us lay aside every false imagining. Let us lay aside the tiny mad idea of separation. Let us lay aside sin consciousness, fear and guilt. He says what? Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witness, let us lay aside every weight. He calls them weights. And the sin consciousness, the belief in sin. Let us lay aside the belief in sin, which does so easily set us back. It besets us. That's what sets us back. That's what causes us to vacillate back and forth. We keep going back and picking up the old mind. We go back and picking up that which has been crucified. We go back and pick up that we get mesmerized by the ego thought system, and we go back and pick it up and see us and pick up our false identity. He said, but lay it aside. And he says, and sin, guilt, and fear, lay it aside, which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience. Let us run how? Patiently. The race that is set before us. That's what we're saying here. There is nothing to defend. If you think there's something to defend, you have a weight. He said, lay it aside. If you think there's a threat, he said, that's a weight. Lay it aside. If you think that you're under attack, he says, that is a weight. Lay it aside. If you think you have to attack, he said, that is a weight. Lay it aside. He said, if you think you have to judge, he said, that's a weight. Lay it aside. He said, lay it aside. We have to do it. We have to do it for ourselves. Your mama, your daddy, history can't do it for us. The country can't do it for us. Your wife, your husband, your children, you have to do it for yourself. Lay the weights aside. Lay the illusions aside. And we run patiently. and we won't get weary. Regardless of what arises in the day, we won't get weary. Regardless of what arises this month, this year, next year, regardless of what's going on in the world, we won't get weary. He said, and then look unto Jesus. Look unto Jesus. In other words, he said, remember the example that Jesus showed us. He said, look unto Jesus, because he authored and he finished this faith that we share. Who for the joy, notice now, even Jesus showed us for the joy that was set before him. He endured everything. And so can we. Why? Because we have complete protection. We're untouchable. We're doing God's purpose. Nothing can harm us. Nothing can destroy us. And I'm not talking about the physical body, but that's not who we are. Nothing can destroy, nothing can threaten, nothing can harm our true reality, which is timeless and formless. We only have the body to be in the dream so we can wake our brothers up. That's the only need that it's for. And it will serve us well when you understand that. Don't give it any other purpose. And then it said that after Jesus endured everything, he finished his work. He sat down at the right hand of his Father. And that's only metaphoric, because as though Jesus and his Father are different. That's duality. But he sat down, meaning what? Like he said, it is finished. And when he said it was finished for all of us. It was finished even before he said it. Even before he said it, it was finished. Because he realized nothing really happened. But he came and met us where we thought something happened. And he removed the veil. He removed everything that was seemingly against us. He removed it out of the way. So there's no excuse now. We are free to do the will of our Father. We are free to walk in the light. We're free to extend the light. Completely whole and completely free. That's what we are right now. So you who have played that you are lost to hope. So we played this game. This is the game we play. So you who have played that you are lost to hope, and that's all humanity at some point, abandoned by our Father, played this game that God abandoned us, left alone in terror in a fearful world, made mad by sin and guilt. We all played that game. He said, be happy now. He said what? Be happy now. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry. Fear not. Be not afraid. Be happy. Why? Because that happiness is all there is. In reality, that's all there is. He says the game is over. Turn out the light. The party's over. Oh, Don Meredith used to say that. He said the game is over. Now a quiet time has come in which we put away the toys of guilt and lock our quaint and childish thoughts of sin forever from the pure and holy minds of heaven's children and the Son of God. We are the sinless ones. And that's a fact. We are the guiltless ones. And that's a fact. We are the fearless ones. And that's a fact. We are the holy ones, the untouchables, the unstoppables. And that's a fact. We pause but for a moment more to play our final happy game upon this earth. And then we go to take our rightful place where truth abides and games are meaningless. So till the story ends, let this day bring the last chapter closer to the world, that everyone may learn the tale he reads of terrifying destiny, defeat of all his hope, his pitiful defense against a vengeance he cannot escape, is but his own deluded fantasy. The fantasy is over. The dream of separation is over. God's ministers have come to waken him from the dark dreams this story has evoked in his confused, bewildered memory of this distorted tale. So it's just a whole tale. It's a tale. It's a fairy tale. It was a fairy tale. God's son can smile at last on learning that it is not true. Today we practice in a form we will maintain for quite a while. We will begin each day by giving our attention to the daily thought as long as possible. 5 minutes now becomes the least we give to preparation for a day in which salvation is the only goal we have. 10 minutes would be better, 15 better still. And as distraction ceases to arise to turn us from our purpose, we will find that half an hour is too short a time to spend with God. Nor will we willingly give less at night in gratitude and in joy. This is where, so Jesus is asking us what? Up level our what? Up level our commitment. Now we see what is most important. Let's make the adjustments. First thing and last thing, we spend time with God. We spend time with ourselves. We check out. We tip out of the room. We put our fingers up like they do in the holiness churches. They put their finger up and say, I'm excusing myself. So we need to excuse ourselves first thing of the day and excuse ourselves last thing at night to spend quality time. To remind ourselves of what our purpose is, who we are, and the guarantees that we have. He said, each hour that we spend adds to our increasing peace. And we remember to be faithful to the will we share with God. That's what the time is about. It's a reminder about what? Our faithfulness to the call that we have, the purpose that we're here for. And it increases our peace in so doing. At times, perhaps, a minute, even less, will be the most that we can offer as the hour strikes. So Jesus here is saying he knows we got responsibilities. He knows we're not always in place. What he says is, he says what? At times, perhaps, even a minute or less will be the most that we can offer as the hour strikes. Sometimes, he say, we will even forget. At other times, the business of the world will close on us, and we will be unable to withdraw a little while and turn our thoughts to God. So he's not saying, man, that you to completely ignore your responsibilities. We all have responsibilities, families, things that we do in the world. We're in the world, but we're not of it. And so, because we're in it, we're going to render to, like you say, Caesar what is Caesar's. So this is not so rigid. This is not religion where it's so rigid. This is not laws where they're so rigid. That's not what the course is asking us to do. What it's asking us to be, what discipline is asking us to remember why we're here. It says, yet when we can, we will observe our trust as ministers of God, in hourly remembering of our mission and his love. So it's God's mission. It's our mission. It's our purpose for being here. To remember our purpose for being here, and to remember that our purpose comes out of his love. It's eternal love. And we will quietly sit by and wait on him and listen to his voice and learn what he would have us do the hour that is yet to come, while thanking him for all the gifts he gave in the one gone by. So it's about living a life, embodying this truth that we are, and living a life where we are guided, where we are inspired by the love of God, where we are guided by the mind of God, that we look to God in every moment for guidance, for remembering who we are. He says, over time, as we practice this, he said, we will never cease to think of him. So as we grow in the grace of our Lord, as we grow in the grace of our God, as we grow in the grace of truth in reality, as we grow in the grace of our true reality as one with God, as a shared being with God, that there is no difference. As we grow in that, he says, as we practice that, he said, we will never cease to think of him and hear his loving voice guiding our footsteps into quiet ways, where we will walk in true defenselessness, having no need to defend ourselves. For we will know that heaven goes with us, nor would we keep our minds away from him a moment, even though our time is spent in offering salvation to the world. So we're always offering salvation to the world through our thoughts of him, our thoughts of reality. Is the way we offer the salvation to the world. He says, think you he will not make this possible? Notice now, it is God that is at work within us to will and to do of his good pleasure. It is the purposes of God that prevail. So we allow our mind to become an altar unto the world, an altar unto truth, an altar unto grace. Our minds become the holy home of God. As I've said over and over again, you are the holy home of God. Not your body, but the mind that has been freed of guilt, the mind that has chosen for the strength of God, the strength of Christ. You become what? You become a communication device to all the world. He say, thank you. He will not make this he will not make this possible for you who choose to carry out his plan for salvation of the world and yours. The world's salvation is your salvation. Your brother's salvation is your salvation. There can be no exceptions. And so today, our theme is our defenselessness. That's the theme of the day. My defenselessness is strength. It's the choice for the strength of Christ. We clothe ourselves in it, and we prepare to meet the day. We rise up strong in Christ and let our weakness disappear as we remember that his strength abides in us. We will remember ourselves that he remains beside us through the day and never leaves our weakness unsupported by his strength. We call upon his strength each time we feel the threat of our defenses. Undermine, or when we feel the threat of our defenses undermine our certainty of purpose. We will pause a moment as he tells us, I am here. I am you. I am your voice. Your voice is my voice. Our practicing will now begin to take the earnestness of love. Love inspires us. We are inspired by the love of God. All of our inhibitions have been let free. All our inner secrets, all our inner fears, we open up the gate and allow love to heal them. We have nothing to hide. We have nothing to be afraid of. The Son has set us free, and we're free indeed. So we begin in earnestness of love to help us keep our mind from wandering from its intent. Be not afraid nor timid. There can be no doubt that we will reach our final goal. The ministers of God can never fail. Because the love and the strength and the peace that shines from them are all their brothers. That shine from them to all their brothers and sisters come from him. So love and strength and peace shines from us to all humanity. These are the gifts that God has given us. Defenselessness is all we need to give him in return. So the Lord is our shepherd, and we shall not want. We lay aside but what was never real. It was never real. All those dreams of separation, all that the world has shown us to disguise, to veil the truth. Here it says we lay it aside because it was never real. It was never real. To look on Christ, we lay it aside so we can look on all that God has created, which he calls Christ, all humanity. And we look on Christ. So you can't look on Christ until you lay it all aside, all. Till you embrace the allness, the holiness, the sinlessness, the guiltlessness that you are. That's why fear-based theology will never work. You can't say that it happened and undo it. You have to say that, well, it never happened. Because to say that it happened, you can never shake that. But to say that it never happened, there's no need to shake it. You just lay it aside. To look on Christ and see his what? Sinlessness. To see your sinlessness. to see your brother's sinlessness, to see the world's sinlessness. So now you understand this lesson, that it is in our defenselessness our safety lies. Not in our defense, but in our defenselessness. That is our theme. We don't have to defend. We don't have to build fences. That's what was symbolic of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. He tore down the walls. He tore down the veil. It doesn't exist anymore. Don't rebuild it. We rebuilt it after he tore it down. Well, in the sense that we rebuilt it in our minds. We didn't believe it. We still believed the lie. But now we have embraced the truth that in our defenselessness is our safety. And thank you so much for bearing with me, being patient with me, as I felt like every detail that I shared is so necessary to our transformation. Every detail is so vital to our awakening. It's so vital to our purpose. To know that we are the sons of God, the daughters of God, the ministers of God, to know that we are one with God, that we only have one will, and that's the will of our Father, and that's our will too. To know that love is our motivator. Love inspires us to do the will of our Father. So as you go through your day today, give all the time that you are inspired to think on these things, to think on Him. To think on God is to think on yourself, because you and God are one. To think on the fact that your mind has been willfully surrendered over to the truth, so that it becomes a communication device by which all the light in heaven is being shared with all God's creation, all humanity. That we're actually holding a space for all humanity. That none is lost. So we can say, just like Jesus said, all that you have given unto me, I've lost none. I can say that now. I understand it. All that God has given me, I've lost none. God has given me everything. I've lost nothing. You have lost nothing. Because God has given all to all. And so all I can say is, so it is. Namaste. See you next time. Bye-bye.